Today we're going to be talking about narcissism, we're going to be talking about gaslighting, and we're going to be talking about that deep entanglement and how we can get out of those situations as seamlessly as possible with as least damage as possible. With narcissists, there is no negotiating, there is no explaining, there is nothing that you can do to create a reality where that narcissist is going to comply or even compromise or even give you an inch. Now, narcissism is a spectrum, so it is different case by case. There are different types of narcissism. Okay, so we're going to go over just the different types of narcissism first, and then we'll talk a little bit more about gaslighting. Narcissism is a rigid and maladaptive personality that negatively influences relationships. What differentiates narcissism with other maladaptive personality traits is that the narcissist typically does well in the world. Narcissism is rewarded in our society because those tactics used by the narcissist to influence, overpower, and conquer often lack empathy and consideration for anyone else in the room other than themselves. So, grandiose narcissists, this is the type of narcissist that you hear talked about quite often. Ironically, the grandiose narcissist is one of the lesser threatening narcissists amongst the various different types that they have. That being said, there's no good narcissist. Okay, these are the individuals who display very strong senses of self. They are sometimes quite arrogant. They seek admiration and are overly confident, but almost in an aggressive way. They can be quite dismissive to other people. They can lack empathy and just be very self-consumed in that way. They can dominate conversations. They can exaggerate their achievements, okay, and have little regard for how other people are feeling. Okay, they can suck the air out of the room. They change the temperature in the room when they are in there. Okay, this is common with most types of narcissists. Now they have the vulnerable narcissist as well. Okay, so this is also called the covert narcissist. This is quite dangerous. The thing that is synonymous with the covert narcissist is they are quite cruel. Okay, it's a slow burn. Okay, they can appear very shy, very insecure, and constantly be feeling victimized. The world is against them, nothing is going right. Why? And they have this inability to see that the sun is shining outside. They also are seeking validation and attention, but they respond to not getting that in different ways than the grandiose narcissist. They will be more, they will sulk, they will be depressed, okay, and they will suck people down. Okay, these are the energy vampires, for example. They use guilt and pity to manipulate other people as well. We have the malignant narcissist. Now, this is the most severe form of narcissism. This is almost a road of no return. By this point, this is somebody who will lie, who will cheat, who will be antisocial, will lack empathy, and have tendencies toward manipulation and aggression. They can be highly vindictive. They can engage in abusive behavior. Okay, they will use people without any regard of how they think or feel. They will lack empathy to the point that almost looks quite sadistic. These are true monsters on the earth that you need to stay away from. So we have the communal narcissists, and this is where it gets quite interesting because as we know now, narcissists are not very black and white. There's not just one or two of them. There's many different types of them, and they come in various different shapes and sizes and forms and expressions, including the communal narcissist. So this would be the person who presents themselves very selfless and very community oriented. Okay, they're primarily motivated by a desire for admiration and validation. So they're doing all the charities, they're doing stuff, but they are letting everybody know that they were the ones who did it. Okay, they do not give charity without giving their name. Everything that they do to help other people has their own self-interest involved to a very high degree. They will get very upset if they are not praised, if they are not being seen as a good person, as a good Samaritan, as somebody highly influential in a positive way. Okay, their ego is attached to their self-righteousness. Okay, so this is very key with the communal narcissists. The only times they engage in helpful behaviors typically are just to gain more recognition or to build an identity that they think will get them more success or more money or more acclaim in some form that they particularly value. But for them, it's usually about being seen as a good person. So it's mainly about being seen in a good light. We have cerebral narcissists who tend to really look down on people who they perceive as less intelligent or knowledgeable. Okay, they place a very high value on their own intelligence and often consider themselves superior intellectuals to anyone else, certainly within their orbit. They will engage in lengthy discussions just to display their own intellect and how smart they are, how much they've achieved through what they know, okay? They will avoid emotional conversation and compartmentalize that from intellectual conversation. There's no blend there. It's one or the other. And typically they lack the ability to even feel emotion. So that is why they are relying on that intellect in the first place. There's also the generational or the cultural narcissist as well. These narcissists are shaped by cultural reinforcement and historical patterns. This category typically is paired with other types of narcissism as well. So the thing about these types of narcissisms, again, is, for example, a communal narcissist can also be a covert narcissist. So you have a communal covert narcissist. That, for example, would be a cult leader. So when you pair certain ones together, it does create a specific type of person, okay? And a lot of them borrow from one another as well. So you can see how it's very important and actually quite empowering to discover and understand narcissism, understand narcissistic behaviors in other people. Okay, it really disarms the ability for those people to affect you when you are allowing them to manipulate you. So this is when I want to get into gaslighting. Gaslighting, of course, is so prevalent. It is often overused. People talk about being gaslit all the time, and it's almost diminished the value and potency of what it means to be gaslit. Gaslighting is a form of narcissistic abuse and has lasting and very horrific effects on an individual's psyche, on their sense of self, on their ability to seek freedom in their life, to have love, joy, relationships. Okay, you are taking the oxygen away from that individual when you are gaslighting them, and inhibiting and disarming and demobilizing, destabilizing, and completely dismembering their concept of self by tricking them, essentially, in various different ways, manipulating them in various different ways, okay? The result of manipulating people, okay, how does that look, right? What does that manipulation look like? Manipulation sounds so aggressive, but gaslighting is quite subtle. It can be quite subtle. For example, if you've been gaslighted, you have heard, "Oh, you're too sensitive. You're being dramatic. You're taking this too far, I think, or you're not remembering this right, and most importantly, you are crazy for feeling the way that you feel." That is the takeaway. Beyond anything that they tell you, what you're left with is, my feelings are not valid. I must be going crazy because, it's true. Mom and dad have provided for me. They have given me all of this. I should be more grateful. It's very tricky, when you are being told one thing and you're feeling another way. So gaslighting is truly making that individual not trust their own instincts anymore. And the damage of this is quite severe. On the more severe ends, of course, this is the type, and this is actually quite common, it's not just very severe, but, you see, if when you turn someone against their own natural instincts and away from their own emotional system, when they're not tuned into their own emotions and how they feel, this is, when a teenager gets in a car with a drunk driver and is feeling the signals like, my nervous system, my body is telling me that something is wrong here, but they're saying it's fine. So I'm just going to go in the car with them because I must be crazy for feeling how I feel. They're all getting in there. Meanwhile, the driver is drunk, and this is a very dangerous environment for you to be in. Gaslighting tunes us out of our ability to protect ourselves, navigating a world where we're not listening to how we feel and are not tuned into our own instincts. We're not picking up the same social cues in environments and job interviews. And, so it can really dismember your future, your goals, your aspirations. We have to be so attuned to how we feel, so tuned into our own energy in order to really have a clear path moving forward towards what we desire. So some of the things that are central to gaslighting abuse is denial of reality. You're crazy for remembering this in this way. You're not remembering this correctly, things that lead you to question your own memory and actually even begin to forget things over time. When you are not remembering things right, you're not recording memory in the same way, and you're not listening to that, you can be quite dissociated. As a result, you've given up on yourself, and that is the danger of being gaslit over a long period of time, is truly losing yourself and letting yourself just turn to dust. So manipulative tactics, lying, exaggerating, presenting false information, confusing the victim, confusing the child, creating self-doubt. A lot of gaslighters will attempt to isolate their victims from resources, from friends, from people that can help, from information, in order to secure their sense of control and maintain that. But the most important thing here when understanding gaslighting is the emotional manipulation. You are led to not believe what you feel, and the damage of that over time is quite truly awful. When you don't have an adequate sense of self because you're constantly gaslit, what happens is you end up having very poor boundaries. So you're quite easily manipulated by other people too, in the world, peers, coworkers, bosses. From an energetic perspective, when you walk into those rooms, you are so used to the energy of being controlled and manipulated. It is so natural to agree and walk into situations where it's clear you're not safe. But to you, it's not very clear because you've been led out of trusting how you feel. Now, what's quite challenging with narcissists is they're rewarded and highly praised in society a lot of the time. These are the people who are extremely successful. Even when they were younger, they may have been quite obsessive. These are the people who sit in their room and build rocket ships out of just spare materials in their house, or building computers at the age of 8 or 9, by themselves. They're we reward people who have these quite immense talents, and we don't quite reward people for their emotional capacity. So that child growing up, building computers in their rooms, end up being the innovators and the visionaries in the world. They, help our society evolve technologically, for example, They are the politicians, you know, they are the actors as well. Okay, they can have narcissistic doctors as well. So these are people, you know, who have accomplished quite a lot or have big lives, but also lack empathy. Okay, they have quite manipulative tactics. They don't have a regard for other people and their feelings. Okay, they can act in quite covert and manipulative ways. Okay, they can have ulterior agendas. Okay, they're not being fully honest. They're not acknowledging all of the facts, even when they are in their face. There is this inability to acknowledge the truth and the reality of what is actually happening. Okay, they will fight, they will push you, or they will just ostracize you if you are to put up a fight with a narcissist. So what is the solution here? What do we do when we have a narcissistic parent or in a narcissistic relationship or a narcissistic boss? Okay, the important thing to know is do not engage. There is no reasoning with someone who is a narcissist. I think the tendency for those of us who are sensitive, you know, and a lot of people, you know, who have been the victim of gaslighting abuse are identified as people who are very sensitive. Sensitive people want to have empathy for their narcissist. They want to see a reality where they can rehab the narcissist back into wellness, when that is not going to happen because there is too much momentum of being rewarded for this bad behavior, and there's not enough to convince them that it's not a good idea. They are fully incapable. Okay, there are certain types of narcissists, yes, who can be rehabbed, of course, but that's not your job. Your job is to find safety, find security, learn to provide for yourself, create that system outside of that environment with safe people who can attune to you emotionally, who listen to how you feel, who make you feel like you are a free person and have the ability to express your own viewpoints and have your own perspectives, have your own joys, okay? Get to know your own heart, you know, and of the various different expressions of your own light, okay? This is what is suppressed by a narcissistic parent or a narcissistic relationship, and then compounded with, you're crazy for thinking that I would do that to you. You know, I raised you, I put a roof over your head. Well, that's actually federal law. You have to take care of your child. Okay, and if you can't, then you need to find someone who can. But a child does not need to earn love. That goes for every single one of you. You do not need to earn love as a child. You just get love. You're supposed to get love. And if you're not getting that love, there is something wrong. And we carry these themes into adulthood when they are not resolved as children, okay? The remnants of not trusting yourself, having difficulty making decisions, okay, falling into relationship dynamics, either work-wise or love-wise, that reproduce the same themes in one way or another from childhood. It's because you're so used to that way of thinking, you're so used to that practiced energy. Okay. The question also becomes, what is the role of these narcissists? Okay, because we know there are these very successful people who can get a lot done in the world. So the thing to understand here is you have to understand the territory that comes with a narcissist. So if you're working for a narcissistic person, or you're in a relationship with a narcissistic person, what are you getting out of this? And are you aware of the territory of this? Maybe you know the person you're in a relationship with that is a narcissist will cheat on you, will not show up sometimes, will not even be there for your child's, you know, preschool graduation. You know that they are not going to be there. They're not going to be an emotional shoulder for you in a consistent way. Maybe you know all of that, but you also know that this narcissist makes a lot of money and will be able to put our child through college. If you actually believe that in your situation, and all of our situations are quite unique, right? And we all have these various different politics within our relationships, that are different from one another. But if you know deep down that it is important to stay in this relationship, just know the territory. Do not have expectations that this person, that this narcissist is going to console you emotionally. Know that they will gaslight you, they will lie to you, and just accept that they are going to do that. If you know, for example, that what's more important above all of those things is that they put your child through college, because you will be able to establish the support to deal with this narcissistic partner. Okay, you will have your girlfriends over, you will have your book club where you guys gather and you talk about the book but also life, and you will assemble a sense of security. So this is because so many people are in relationships with these people. These are the people that you bring home and your whole family are rejoicing. I'm so proud of you for finding this amazing person with this 1,000,000-watt smile. And that is such a characteristic of narcissists. There is this allure to them, whether they are physically attractive or their money is attractive. People love bringing them home, or people love when, a parent will love having somebody like that brought home, a lot of times, especially if that parent is not emotionally attuned to their child. They will be applauding things like that as opposed to finding a safe relationship with a normal person. So where does narcissism derive from? You are right to assume that this is a very damaged person. This is a person who struggles a lot and actually, ironically, deal with a lot of self-esteem problems because they are actually overcompensating to a magnificent degree their inability to feel good about themselves within, okay? Them being a narcissist is a result of them feeling very insecure within. Okay, the actions and things that they do within their life is to hide how they truly feel on the inside, which is typically a lot of pain. Narcissists are going through a lot, but they also learn how to manage it in very big ways through big action and without any regard to who's around them as they are plowing through. You are a victim of narcissistic abuse if you have experienced day-to-day invalidation as a child, manipulation, gaslighting, negativity, okay, decades of walking on eggshells, their parent being in a good mood one moment and erratic the next moment. You become hyper attuned to anticipating threats around you that actually develops this ability of being an empath. And a lot of empaths are actually born out of a lot of trauma, being aware of the subtle fluctuations in people, environments, and energies around them. For this reason, a lot of empaths are the child of narcissistic parents who grew up with a narcissistic system. When viewing a narcissist from an auric perspective, it really differs based on each person and what type of narcissism they are specifically exhibiting. Now, this is where it gets quite interesting because the people in the world that you would regard as people who are able to emotionally attune and connect and feel when they are engaging and talking with other people, that connection and that communication comes from the blue aura color, okay? So even if your natural aura color is, say, green, okay, when the blue comes in, that will indicate that that person is emotionally communicating and connecting with the person that they are in front of. That is what apparates the blue, okay? Now, what you will see in a lot of narcissists and a lot of just very, very highly successful visionary people in the world, like the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, the Donald Trumps of the world, you will see their energy be often just one color. And a lot of times that color is not blue or purple, which is also a quite emotional and almost spiritual color, okay? If you have blue or purple in your field, you will know that that person is able to connect emotionally and able to have heart in their words and in how they interact, okay? There is consciousness to some degree that is there, okay? Now, when you have a green aura without any blue, for example, you have somebody who can take over the world. Okay, green is about systems, is about organization, it's about big ideas, it's about success, it's about climbing ladders, it's about the bird's eye view of your projects, about your vision, about whatever you want. So there are these people who create big things, right? So when you invite empathy into the equation, that's another hurdle for people who are looking to accomplish a lot of things. That's another hurdle for them to go through. They would love to just dictate and delegate and just tell people what to do and not worry about how they feel. It sounds like a lot of bosses, right? It sounds like a lot of narcissistic people in positions of power, okay? A lot of CEOs, a lot of politicians, they operate like this, and often they don't have multiple colors. So Donald Trump, for example, he has a green, or I actually call it dollar bill green, because the type of green that he has, you can just tell, is someone who is very financially abundant. They have a lot of financial flow, okay? In very impressive ways, like so many narcissists, right? Impressive, big, the best, you know? These are things that you will hear, you know, a narcissist talk about. Now, what's interesting, of course, is I don't see blue come in, you know, with Donald Trump's aura, for example. So I don't see this emotional attunement. I don't see this ability for him to connect emotionally with other people, and certainly not when he's doing speeches. For example, when I do see him do speeches, what you will see a lot of time is him really taking shots at other people's character and bringing them down. So what I will see when he's doing that, I will see his green aura, but it will look red. And the reason for that is because we call this an overlay. We call this the red overlay. Now, the red overlay indicates that there is a lot of insecurity that is masked by this wall and this shield of either anger or manipulation or fear, but just very strong barrier, okay? This indicates that that person is going through something emotionally that they do not possess the ability to be vulnerable about. Okay, they cannot address their own feelings. Okay, they're reacting to trauma. They're reacting to their system feeling unsafe. So they put this wall up to protect themselves. So that is when you feel like, okay, that person has a wall. Okay, let me just not go near that person. You know, it can be various different expressions of this. Now, the red overlay doesn't necessarily mean that you are a narcissist, but you have to dissect that person and their behavioral patterns and who they are to understand the nature of why that red overlay is there. So for him, again, this red overlay is this aspect that he adopts in order to not be tuned into his own feelings. You cannot say the vicious things that he has said while feeling real emotions, while feeling connected to your own heart. It's not possible. So that wall has to come up in order for him to project out the way that he does, okay? These are manipulative tactics as well, of course. So these are traits that would be considered on the narcissistic spectrum. Now, Kamala Harris, for example, her aura colors are violet and royal blue. Now, she does not have a red overlay. Now, the violet and the blue, right? So violet being a part of the purple spectrum, and then the blues as well. So these are both emotional and spiritual colors. Okay, these are colors and energies that possess the ability to connect and attune to other people, to feel what they're feeling, okay? When you see blue in a politician, that is someone for the people. That's someone who actually cares about how people feel, okay? Now, you have to determine too, like, there is a job to do. As a president, you are commander-in-chief. You have to make very, very difficult decisions. And there are certain jobs in this world that are better executed without emotion. A surgeon cannot be empathizing with their patient as they are cutting into them with a scalpel. there are certain jobs that are better executed without emotion. So that's where, Donald Trump and his energy and his narcissism actually can be helpful, you know, in the sense of, treating this country like a corporation or like a business. That's not a person, that's not a real entity with sentience, which this country is composed of. So again, I'm not telling anybody what to vote for. I'm just saying these are the things that we have to evaluate, and these are the things that are spelled out within our own energy and our auras. There is a benefit to, lacking empathy, and that is why narcissists are so rewarded in society. Now, again, when you see the blue and the purple, for example, in Kamala Harris, you would see, okay, this is an individual who cares about the people, who does what she does because she cares about the people. Okay, violets also are influential and they like presence, so she likes to be seen as well. Okay, now you have to decide if you want a president who's really attuned to how we feel emotionally in this country, but knowing that that emotion can also be a hurdle in certain negotiations and certain, things that happen in our country where decisions need to be made very, very quickly. Okay. Now, of course, it's not that black and white. They have cabinets and they have advisors, all these different people that work with them, But I just thought it would be interesting to use that as an example. It takes a lot more energy to be empathetic, to feel and be in power at the same time. You can get a lot more done if you don't have a lot of empathy, if you don't feel what other people are feeling, when you just view people as resources and things to manipulate in order to get what you want. That is highly effective in executing what you need to get done. Is it moral? No. Would you get in a relationship with that person? No. So just understand the territory when we understand narcissists, because they are all over the world. It's estimated that either between 1 in 6 or 1 in 10 or 1 in 12, they're all, are narcissists. So you need to assess the territory before engaging with these individuals in relationships. So lastly, I just want to remind you that you are not crazy. You are not wrong. You are right. And you deserve to listen to how you feel. And that is an essential part in you finding your freedom, you finding your own personal empowerment, and you being even more efficient in your work, in your life, and in your relationships. I would remind you all to exercise each day listening to how you feel, listening to your nervous system. What is your body telling you? In any given environment, in any given conversation, confront how your body feels. Are you constricting? Do you feel safe? Are you feeling open? Are you feeling excitable? These are the tools that we need to have intact in order to really live a successful life of joy and peace and connectedness that we all deserve. If you resonate with any of this material on here, particularly the energetic perspective and the energetic spin, understanding this all from the vibrational perspective, I would encourage you to explore my course called Aura Psychology. So we talk about all things from core beliefs to the law of attraction, to healing the shadow self, to understanding and unpacking the inner workings of what creates your unique behaviors and tendencies, what creates the blocks that you have in your life, as well as understanding the spiritual component, because we all are spirits. We tend to overlook in modern psychology the aspect of the soul, but there are certain aspects of psychology called depth psychology, for example, that really does explore the nature of the soul and the impact of our soul and the consideration of our soul and our own purpose and our own energy and our psyches as well. It is absolutely indivisible. Our energy is connected to our psyches and our psyches to our bodies. And we have to explore the whole scope if we're to really understand this human experience, because we are also spirits. We are not just a psyche, we are also a spirit. So when we understand our own energy and how our energy influences our psyche, it really does help us have a full view and understanding of how to navigate this life with consciousness and be successful and have quality relationships. I invite you to check out my course, Aura Psychology, exploring trauma, energy, and the mind. I'll leave the links below for you, and I'm very excited to explore more with you all. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.